This is Barry Zalma speaking for Claim School Incorporated's blog, Zalma on Insurance, and for its Zalma's Insurance Fraud Letter for July 15, 2023. In this Volume 27, Issue 14 of Zalma's Insurance Fraud Letter, it helps to continue in your efforts to work to deter or defeat insurance fraud by providing you with a source for insurance fraud professionals. This, the 14th issue of the 27th year of publication of Zalma's Insurance Fraud Letter, provides multiple articles on how to deal with insurance fraud in the United States. The issue begins with an article entitled No Coverage Under a False Name and Why Liars May Never Prosper When Dealing with Insurance. In the case, Cheryl Tisdale was injured in an automobile collision while she was driving her own vehicle containing passengers while logged into the Uber Technologies application as a paid driver. Tisdale served Farmers Insurance Exchange with the complaint seeking underinsured motorist coverage pursuant to an insurance policy Farmers issued to Razor LLC, a subsidiary of Uber. The case resulted in a refusal to pay any of Ms. Tisdale's claim because she registered with Uber under a false name after being fired. It takes a great deal of chutzpah, unmitigated gall, to be fired by Uber for cause, rejoining Uber under a false name, and then claim a right to benefits under the Uber policy. Tisdale was punished by her lies and was not allowed to profit from her fraud. You can read this article and the full issue of Zalma's Insurance Fraud Letter at the link set forth in the blog post. Then there is more on the McClenny, Moseley Associates issues with Zalma's Insurance Fraud Letter's 10th installment of the saga of MMA and its problems with the federal courts. And you can read the full article at the link. Then there's an article on ethics for independent insurance adjusters who serve insurance companies who do not have sufficient claim staff to handle claims on behalf of those various insurers without staff in every jurisdiction where there is property, the risk of loss of which was insured. The professional insurance adjuster recognizes that the work of adjusting insurance claims is a profession of public trust, and independent insurance adjusters should maintain a standard of integrity that will promote the goal of building public confidence and trust in the insurance industry. You can read the entire article at the link. Then there is good news from the Coalition Against Insurance Fraud, listing some of the convictions that they report upon, including one where a fraudster worked with a former school principal to scam health care benefits, and now he's been schooled by a jury for his fraud. Matthew Puccio from Randolph, New Jersey, was convicted of scheming to defraud public health benefit plans and was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. Working as a sales representative for several pharmacies between November of 2014 and March of 2016, Puccio conspired with others to induce 2 New Jersey doctors to write phony prescriptions for compounded medications on behalf of patients Puccio recruited. Puccio received kickbacks in a scheme targeting health plans that reimbursed for compound drugs at high rates. His brother-in-law, Peter Frazano, former principal of the Sussex Avenue Elementary School in Morris Township, is awaiting sentencing for his role in the scheme. Frazano pleaded guilty in 2019 to conspiring to defraud the New Jersey School Employees Health Benefits Program, the New Jersey State Health Benefits Plan, and other plans out of $2.7 million over the same period. It seems to be fairly easy to defraud insurers, and eventually, since they get greedy, they eventually get caught. You can read the entire article and all of the convictions at the link set forth in the blog. Then there's an article on how to add to the professionalism of the insurance claims profession, with the insurance industry being less than effective in training its personnel. Their employees, whether in claims underwriting or sales, are hungry for education and training to improve their work in the industry, and you can read about how they can do so at the link in the blog. Then there's an article about how California Commissioner Lara announced providing over $50.5 million in grants awarded statewide to assist law enforcement in fighting fraud. And in his press release, Commissioner Lara contends that these grants, funded through annual employer assessments, support law enforcement efforts in investigating and prosecuting fraud and increase outreach to our communities. Commissioner Lara also awarded an additional $400,000 in grants to protect consumers, the majority of whom are seniors, from abuse involving the sale of individual life and security products as part of the Life and Annuity Consumer Protection Program. Although this adds to the needs of the insurance community in California to fight insurance fraud, it is not necessarily an effective program and could be more easily and more effective if the commissioner retained a team for the $50 million available of deputy attorney generals whose only duty would be to work with the California Department of Insurance Fraud Bureau to prosecute insurance fraud claims. Then the full article is available at the link in the blog. Then there's a list of health insurance fraud convictions, starting with the conviction of Diversicare and 2 occupational therapy assistants who were required to pay over $1.3 million as part of a key TAM suit. Then there's a new California bar rule where the California Supreme Court approved a new rule requiring attorneys to report professional misconduct. In late June, the California court approved Rule 8.3 that will require California lawyers to report misconduct by other California attorneys. Specifically, the rule requires reporting when an attorney has, quote, committed a criminal act or has engaged in conduct involving dishonesty, fraud, deceit, or reckless or intentional misrepresentation or misappropriation of funds or property that raises a substantial question as to the lawyer's honesty, trustworthiness, or fitness as a lawyer in other respects. The rule is operative on August 1, 2023, and will require every lawyer to snitch on every other lawyer who is crooked, and may also find people using this technique, unfortunately, to harm people who are not doing what the rule requires them to be reported upon. Then there's an article about other insurance fraud convictions, starting with a former Santa Rosa agent sentenced to prison after stealing from consumers. Christopher Ramos, 45, of Santa Rosa, was sentenced to 4 years in prison after an investigation by the California Department of Insurance found he stole over $189,000 from consumers and left them uninsured. Ramos was convicted of multiple felony counts of grand theft, theft of fiduciary funds, and additional enhancements for thefts over $100,000. You can read the full article at the blog by clicking on the link on the blog. Then there's an article on the effect of the tort of bad faith, where it is indisputable that in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the insurance industry abused some insureds to avoid paying legitimate claims. Without a factual basis, insureds were accused of arson or other variations on insurance fraud, and indemnity payments were refused on the flimsiest of excuses. People were found to have diseases that only horses could catch. Disability payments were refused because an insured was wheeled in her wheelchair to church one day and therefore was not totally house confined. Insureds were driven into bankruptcy with reasonable demands within policy limits were refused. However, that effect has now made it easier for people to commit fraud by just threatening a bad faith lawsuit. This video is a summary of what can be found in the full Zalma's insurance fraud letter, and we would appreciate it if you find this video and the blog to be of use to you. If you would click on the like button on YouTube or the thumbs up button on rumble.com. And if you found this video to be useful to you, please tell your friends and colleagues so that they can also subscribe to the newsletter and to the blog or to the videos. And if you want further detail on insurance claims, and insurance fraud, you might wish to consider subscribing for a very small fee to my locals community or to my Substack publication. Thank you for your attention.